Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm doing another video on Captain Underpants and the Big Bad Battle of the BIONIC BOOGER BOY Part 1. I hope you enjoyed the video. Today I'm going to be reading chapter 20 through chapter 25, I guess. So before we get started, make sure you smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, smash the notification bell, and let's get right into it. Chapter 20, Captain Underpants, that's who. As much as George and Harold hated to do it, they decided that it was the last time to send Captain Underpants to save the day. George snapped his fingers. Suddenly, the terror and panic that Mr. Krupp had been experiencing completely vanished. Snap! A wild, silly grin spread across his face as he leaped to his feet and ripped off the outer clothing and Tubi. Mr. Krupp's transformation into Captain Underpants was almost complete. The only thing was missing was a cape. "Gee," he said, "I sure wish I could find a red curtain with black dots on it." "Hey," said George as he pointed to the red curtain with black dots on it. "Here's a red curtain with black dots on it." "What a remarkably unexpected coincidence," said Captain Underpants as he grabbed the latest in a series of convoluted plot devices and tied it around his neck. By this time, Melvin has stomped his way out of the factory and into the downtown area, leaving behind a twisted path of mucus-coated destruction. Captain Underpants flew into the air, followed the trail of terror until he was face to face with the snot-spewing cyborg. "I ordered you to stop, Captain Underpants. In the name of all that is pre-shrunk and cottony." Melvin did not listen. Captain Underpants had no choice but to fight the boogery behemoth, but first he needed to save Miss Anthrope. Quickly, our hero flew to Edith's side, grabbed her hands, and pulled firmly. The slimy plinth that covered Melvin's gigantic fist was strong and gluey, but it was no match for wedgie power. Captain Underpants pulled and pulled until Miss Anthrope became completely dislodged with a noisy, wet, disgusting sound. Note, please feel free to make the noisy, wet, disgusting sound of your choice to emphasize the intense drama of this gripping paragraph. "I'm free," cried Miss Anthrope. "Let's get the heck out of here." Suddenly, the bionic booger boy reached down and grabbed Captain Underpants by the cape. The monster held on tightly with his gigantic, gooey, robotic fingers. "Ack!" cried Captain Underpants. "He's got my cape! He's got my cape!" "Well, just untie it," screamed Miss Anthrope. Let's go!" "But I can't fight crime without my cape!" cried Captain Underpants. "Forget your stupid cape!" Edith screamed. "Just save me, you idiot!" Chapter 21. You can't have your cape when Edith, too. As anybody will tell you, no superhero is complete without a cape. I mean, without a cape, a superhero is just a guy wearing a fancy underwear, or in this case, not so fancy underwear. But Captain Underpants knew what had to be done. He reached up with his free hand and courageously untied his cape, violently sacrificing his majestic integrity to save the life of more than a mortal being. Captain Underpants and Miss Anthrope were now free, but they weren't safe yet. Bionic Booger Boy swung our hero with all his might. Captain Underpants weaved around Melvin's frantic, flying fists until as he tried to find a safe place to land. Suddenly, Captain Underpants' 100% powered vision spotted George and Harold miles away. With lightning speed, he flew down to meet the boys. "George and Harold," said Captain Underpants, "you've got to keep this woman safe while I destroy that robotic slime ball." "Okay," said Harold, "but hurry up. Here he comes." "Wait," cried Miss Anthrope. "I didn't get a chance to say thank you." She turned and kissed Captain Underpants all over his face with wet, drooly smooches. "Thank you," she said between each sloppy kiss. "Yuck," said Harold. "I sure hope she doesn't thank us," said George. When Miss Anthrope had finished slobbering all over Captain Underpants' face, she gave him a great big hug for good luck. "Now go get him, Tiger," she said calmly, but Captain Underpants didn't move. He just stood there staring blankly into space. Off in the distance, George and Harold could hear the bionic booger boy approaching. Each thundering footstep brought the horror beast closer and closer until at last he stood towering above them, panting heavily and dripping frantically. Miss Anthrope screamed and ran away. "Hurry, Captain Underpants," cried Harold. "Do something." "Yeah," cried George. Kick his hiney. But Captain Underpants didn't move. He didn't fight. He didn't fly. He didn't kick anybody's hiney. In fact, the only thing he did do was get very, very angry. "What the heck is going on here, Bubs?" he screamed. "And why am I standing here in my underwear?" George and Harold didn't like the sound of that. Chapter 22. Welcome back, Crupper. If you read the comic on page 7 of this novel, then you know what happens whenever Captain Underpants gets water on his head. Unfortunately, Miss Anthrope's wet, slobbery kisses had produced the same effect. Captain Underpants had been turned back into Mr. Krupp. Now he was about to be turned into lunch. Quickly, George and Harold began frantically snapping their fingers. Snap, 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 snap. Again and again they snapped, but Mr. Krupp's face was still slimy and wet with gooey kiss juice, and the snaps were having no effect at all. The mighty mucus monster shoved Mr. Krupp into his gummy mouth and swallowed him whole. And then he came for George and Harold. "Help!" screamed George. "We're doomed!" screamed Harold. Chapter 23. Sulu Saves the Day. Halfway across the city, a plunky little hamster with bionic ears heard the terrified cries of the two best pals. Quickly, Sulu jumped out of his exercise wheel and crashed through the side of the plastic cage. Then, with a mighty leap, he bounded from the window of George and Harold's treehouse. At that very moment, Melvin was dangling George and Harold high above his mouth. "Ha ha ha," laughed the bionic booger boy. "Me got you at last." "Well, goodbye, Harold," said George. "See you later, pal," said Harold. "It was fun while it lasted." Finally, Melvin let go of George and Harold. The two boys screamed as they fell face first into the gooey, gaping mouth of the swoosh. The next thing, George and Harold knew they were flying sideways at an incredible speed. Everything around them was a blur of motion except for the sight of their little buddy Sulu, who had literally grabbed them from the murky mouth of the death at the very last second. "Atta boy!" cried George. "Hooray for Sulu!" cried Harold. Sulu set George and Harold down onto the roof of a gigantic building, then returned to the scene of the crime. He grabbed a few oversized novelty items from the tops of some warehouse and turned his face mortal enemy. The Cane Warehouse, Boxing Glove City, the Denture Emporium. Chapter 24, the incredibly graphic, violent chapter, Part 2, in Flipperama TM. Warning, the following stunts were performed on closed streets by a highly trained professional hamster. To avoid injury, please do not grab oversized novelty items from the tops of warehouses and beat up giant monsters with them. Flipperama 2, pages 147 and 149. Cane tops keep falling on a head. Flipperama 3. Yummy, 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 I got a glove in my tummy. Flipperama 4. A hard day's bite. Chapter 25. How to reverse the effects of a Combinotron 2000 in one easy step. The bionic booger boy was defeated. He flopped unconscious into a giant boogery blob that spread across several city blocks and nearly 4 whole pages as reporters surrounded his massive oozing body. Soon, Melvin's mother and father showed up with a Commandantron 2000. "We saw what was happening on the news," they said, "and we want the world to know that we're going to create a new machine that will reverse the process that turned our son into this monster. If we work together, it should only take a few months to build. Why don't you guys take the batteries of that Commandantron thingy and switch them around?" said George. "Wouldn't that reverse the machine's effects?" "Well," laughed Melvin's father, "obviously you don't know anything about science, little boy. You can't expect to reverse the effect of a highly complex cellular molecularizing Commandantron 2000 just by switching the batteries around. That type of thing only happens in obnoxious children's books." Said George self-consciously. "Well, why don't you just give it a try anyway?" "All right," said Mr. Sneedley, rolling his eyes and smirking. He quickly switched the batteries around and powered up the machine. "But I'm only doing this to prove a point to you kids. It's not going to work. No way, not in a million years. Anybody who thinks it might is just a complete idiot. It goes against all the popular laws of logic and science." He aimed the newly reconfigured Combinatron 2000 at his son and fired. Chapter 26. Blats! And we will stop here for now at chapter 26. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, smash the notification bell. Check out my Instagram, MarcoBrandTV, no capital letters, no spaces, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.